In a geometric sequence, the ratio, we've heard that word before, between each pair of consecutive terms is the same. This ratio is called the common ratio, which is what we talked about with exponentials. Exponential functions have a common ratio, so these are basically exponential functions. Each term is found by multiplying the previous term by the common ratio. So please remember that you can't actually divide. You have to figure out, okay, it's dividing by 5, so that's the same thing as multiplying by a fifth. You'd have to change it into a fraction. So if it's multiplying or dividing by something over and over, it's geometric. So same thing. Linear is like arithmetic, add or subtract. Geometric is like exponential, multiplying. So we're going to look at these and decide arithmetic, geometric, or neither. Arithmetic adds or subtracts. Geometric multiplies or divides. Neither does neither. Or it has a pattern, but it doesn't fit those. Okay, 120, 60, 30, 15. Jackson, what's it doing? It's dividing by 2, which is the same thing as multiplying by what? Yes, so it's the same thing as multiplying by a half. And so this is geometric because it has a common difference of 1/2. No, not sorry, common difference, common ratio. Ooh, messed that up. Common ratio of times 1/2 every time. It's dividing by 2, divided by 2, divided by 2. Okay, number 2. Arithmetic, geometric, or neither?
Neither.
What do we say?
Neither.
Do we agree? Check out the pattern. It goes +4, +5, +6. Is it adding the same amount every time? No. Nice little pattern there, but it's not good enough. So neither. Number 3. Arithmetic, geometric, or neither. Macy, what do you say? How come? Subtracting 4 over and over. So arithmetic, because it has a common difference of -4. Common diff is -4 every time. Number 4. Carson Milbrand, what do you say for number 4?
Geometric.
How come?
It's multiplied by 4.
It is. Times 4 every time. So the common ratio is 4, and it's geometric. Looking at the graphs, you can look at how it's shaped. If it's linear shaped, then it's going to be arithmetic. If it's exponential, it should be geometric. Be 4. Oop. So the first one, if you look at it, it does have kind of a curved shape. Look at the y values. Kieran, what's happening? What's happening with the y values?
They're decreasing.
Decreasing. Can someone add on to that? How are they decreasing specifically, Lucas? They're dividing by 2. And so that's the same thing as multiplying by what? 1/2. And it multiplies by a half over and over. And so this is geometric. Has a common ratio of 1/2. And then the last one, Hannah, what do you think? Arithmetic, geometric, neither? How do you know it's arithmetic? Yep, subtracts 3 over and over. And also you could draw a straight line through that and make it linear. So yeah, this is arithmetic. Cool. Flip it over. So that's arithmetic, geometric, or neither. Now we're going to write the next 3 terms of a geometric sequence and tell me what's the common ratio. You're going to start to see me use R as the common ratio. So I don't want to write it out every single time. Okay. Write the next 3 terms of each geometric sequence. Give the value of the common ratio. Okay. What's it multiplying by? 2 times 2 over and over. So my common ratio, R, is 2. And so my next 3 terms are, what, guys? 48. And then what's 96 times 2? 192. You keep multiplying by 2 every time. Can you please try the next 3? You can work with your partner. Go. The last one might be kind of tricky, so if you get stuck on number 8, we'll talk about it together. All of these are geometric, I promise you. They're all multiplying by something. If you can't figure out what it's multiplying by, start with what it's divided by. I promise you they are all geometric. Guaranteed. Is geometric. I'm going to give you about a minute and then we're going to talk about them. No. What could you divide by? Start with that. What could you divide by over and over? To get from 64 to negative 16, what do you divide by?
2. 3.
Better than negative 4, so what's that same thing multiplying by negative 1/4?
It's neither. I swear.
It's not. Okay, we're going to talk about these. So let's get back together. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Makes that sound. It's done. Okay. I promise this one is geometric. Let's start with, what's it dividing by? No. Thank you. Negative 4. It's dividing by negative 4, but that's not the common ratio, because the common ratio has to be, what is it multiplying by? It's multiplying by negative 1/4. Okay, and so our next 3 terms, if you multiply by negative 1/4, negative 1 times negative 1/4 would give me 1/4. We're going to leave it with fractions because we're not afraid of fractions. And if you need to write it out, you can. Negative 1 times negative 1/4 is positive 1/4. So now you take that one. 1/4 times negative 1/4. Multiply straight across. Would be negative 1, and then 4 times 4 is 16. Okay, and then the last one, negative 1/16 times negative 1/4 would give me positive 16 times 4. 64. So here are your 3 next terms. 1/4, negative 1/16, positive 1/64. Next one's not so bad. It is dividing again. What's it dividing by? 10,000, 1,000, 100. What is it dividing by? 10. It's dividing by 10. But you can't write the common ratio as division. You have to write it as a fraction instead. Dividing by 10 is the same thing as multiplying by 1/10. So that is your common ratio. So you got to keep the pattern going. It's dividing by 10 over and over. So the next one would be 10, and then 10 divided by 10 is 1, and then 1 divided by 10 is, please leave it as a fraction, do not give it to me as a decimal. 1/10. All right, and then last one. I promise you, it's geometric. Do you know what it's multiplying by?
I think so.
What is it?
1.5.
It is 1.5. Very good. Okay. If you can't get it by looking at it, then here's what you can do. I know that to go from 8 to 12, it had to multiply by the common ratio, r. So to figure out what r is, what do? How do I solve this equation? That's multiplication, 8 times r. How do I get r by itself? Divide. Do the inverse. Divide by 8. And so it is multiplying by 12 over 8, but that can be simplified. What can 12 and 8 both divide by? 4. So go ahead and do that, and you would get 3/2, or as Joe said, 1.5. So every single time, it's multiplying by 1.5. So that's your common ratio. So you would do, what is 27 times 1.5? What is it? $40.5, and then you keep going. What's 40.5 times 1.5? You could probably use your calculator for this. Probably need to. You should get 60.75. Oh, some of you guys don't have calculators. We talked about this. Get one every day. If you don't have a calculator, go get one. Go. Not your phone, an actual calculator. Can't use your phone at EOC. Get one for the back if you don't have one. And then you do 60.75 times 1.5, and Macy got 91.125, and that sounds right. So it's not always going to be super, super easy to figure out what it is. Write yourself a little equation like we did, and solve it to figure out what's going on. It's multiplying by 1.5 every time. Okay, that is it for today. I need you to get out your laptop, but we're not doing your homework yet.